Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Like I said, I was going to do another video today, and I'm going to make it shorter because I don't want to waste too much of your time. But let's start about legacy sequel. What's a legacy sequel? To me, it's a movie. It's a sequel that is placed around 10, 12 years later than the originals. And to me, a good rule of this is to not disrespect the OGs, but you establish your own story that integrates the OGs and new characters, and all of them can be converged and have sense at the end. So, before we go talk about the good ones, let's talk about the desirable mentions. We have Independence Day Resurgence. I mean, let's take basically Vika A. Fox, Bill Pullman, and Will Smith's characters in the first one, and let's get rid of them in the second one. Will Smith off camera. Vika A. Fox is there in the scene and gets killed like it was an extra in the second one. And Bill Pullman gets PTSD and dies at the end. He doesn't even have an happy ending for him. So that's this. What else was atrocious? That to me maybe one of the worst legacy sequel there is. So the honorable mention, I have Blade Runner 2049. I thought it was pretty good, but very self-indulging, and it's like a bit pretentious. I much prefer Blade Runner 1 with Harrison Ford. It was an hour 40 minutes, and this one was bloated at 2 hours 40 minutes. However, I really love the decor. I really love the cinematography. I love the score. So I'll be bringing this. I love Ryan Gosling's performance. Ball Cup, Bad Cup 2 is also a good legacy sequel, but I mean, great chemistry between Patrick Huard and Colm Fiore, but I thought the bad guy was kind of blah, and I didn't like basically the how they get the revenge against the bad guy, how it happened, because it was kind of it didn't seem as serious, but it didn't make him a serious threat. It just make him like a little Joker, and not the Joker, but a Joker as in a basically kind of a joke. So that's for this. Now we go to the top 20. Top number 20, Jurassic World 1 from 2015. What a great, I wouldn't say great movie, a pretty good movie. If it wasn't for Jurassic Park 1, that'd be my favorite movie of the franchise. Coincidentally enough, Jurassic World Rebirth, which is the first movie in another franchise of Jurassic Park, is my favorite movie since Jurassic World of 2015, which is my favorite movie of the Jurassic universe since the original Jurassic Park from 1993. That's a series that should not have. They're very those three movies are pretty go from pretty good, neat to excellent. But I feel like all of those should not have sequels. The more I think about it, because they're safe and predictable. Or if you're gonna make a sequel, I would love to have a sequel where the bad guy and the main good guys are the only one who gets away with it, and you establish an actual big bad for the next series. Yeah, that'd be a gutsy move. Why can't you do that? Because it's a bit too safe. There's many characters I felt, why can't they be fed to the dinosaurs? I could tell from the opening credits who was going to be food for the dinosaurs. I'm just saying. I know we gotta be safe sometime, but there's too safe. And that was one of my complaints about the movie. Number 19, Die Hard 4, Live Free or Die Hard. Again, it's 19, I think it was 995, the last one was Die Hard with a Vengeance. This one is 12 years later. It had no right being as good as it is because already there it went from R-rated to PG-13, but Bruce Willis always nails John McClane. Justice Long was great in a supporting character role, as well as Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who basically showed a great evolution from Sky High movie to Final Destination 3 to this movie to Birds of Prey and everything in between. So very good movie. In fact, I'd say one, two, three, four of Die Hards. None of them are all of them are excellent, pretty good to excellent, apart from Die Hard 5, which is Abomination. So yeah. And it was 6 years later. Like, what's the excuse there? So number 18, Saw 10 from 2023. I expected nothing from Saw 10. I mean, I love Saw 1, 2, 3, parts of the 7, the way it ended, and Jigsaw was fun, but everything else, every other movie concerning the gore rather than the story or the philosophy of the killer, I didn't like that. Saw 10, to me, what I love is they reversed the dynamics. Rather than John Kramer or just say being the bad guy, everything about John Kramer and his associates were actually are the good guys. I mean, whether it's Amanda, even Hoffman, sorry. They were the good guys because the bad guys were the trapped ones and they're one basically fake curing cancer. How can you not hate people like this? They deserve every bit of torture they had. To me, it's like that's a formula that needs to be kind of explored where making the serial killer the good guy in the movie compared to even worse bad guys. I mean, I would love to see a Jason movie in which, I don't know, criminals went to go to Crystal Lake. That'd be kind of a fun dynamics to try. Just saying. Just saying. But if you do that idea, pay me. Okay. Number 17, Star Wars Episode 7. It's mostly A New Hope updated, but I still like it. Because it's same from A New Hope, and that shows to me that J.J. Abrams lacks originality. Everything that he does do, the he might have make a great first installment an existing franchise. That's all he can do. He can't. It's like he doesn't have the skill set to do a great middle of a trilogy, and especially doesn't know how to end a series. Don't believe me? Ask Lost. Ask Star Wars and Star Trek Into Darkness. Ask Rise of Skywalker. Enough said. Okay, so yeah, I like that movie, but I felt they could have done so much more. Again, Adam Driver is game as Kylo Ren, but sometimes I felt like he came more like an emo goth rather than the basic a badass villain. Finn was supposed to be, it seemed to be the center of the new trilogy, but was so shoved aside for Rey was basically a standalone for Luke Skywalker, and it could have gotten another protagonist rather than basically having Luke Skywalker basically copy to somebody else. But that's basically number 17. 16, Rocky Balboa, 2006. Why Rocky Balboa? I love Rocky 1. That's one of my favorite movies ever, as well as Rocky 2. Rocky 3, this is when he became more action-based, introduced Hulk Hogan, which is great for his wrestling career, and changed wrestling forever, and also introduced the great song Eye of the Tiger. Then we get Rocky 4, which is cartoony but still funny. And then we get Rocky 5. Rocky 5 is basically by far the worst Rocky movie ever. I mean, it wasted its potential. And to me, but it's also one of the Rockies that are the easiest to retcon. But 16 years later, we got Rocky Balboa. And I like it shows like Rocky is a bit broken down mentally because of the loss he had. He had suffered this, and especially the recent one of his wife Adrian, who died of ovarian cancer in the movie. He's angry at the world, not basically he's grieving his wife to death, but secretly also angry at the world because he doesn't have his wife anymore. He's losing people. He's losing people. He wants to see his son more often because that's the last remnant of his family, but his son's finding reason to see him. And the reason why his son didn't want to see him is because he always felt like he was in shadow of his dad, which leads to a great speech about basically how winning is done by Rocky. That is basically not you how you it's not by hitting things. It's not how much you can hit. It's how much you can get hit and keep moving forward. I love that speech, and I love how basically it's also Rocky is not just about. It's not just a testament on Rocky's boxing ability. It's about somebody who was saying, "Hey, I'm getting older, but I still am this person. I still matter. I still am everything I say I am." But at the same time, about grief. It's about grief, about maybe all those things, having some closure, doing things to maybe finish, to prove to yourself something to yourself one last time so you can move on, get over your grief, and move on to the next step of your life. It's not a movie really about boxing, but about moving on, about getting over your grief. And the length somebody can go to end their grief. Because the reason why Rocky wanted to box again wasn't because he wanted to prove necessarily to the media that he could still do it. He wanted to prove it to himself. And he also did this to prove it that he's not to prove that he's not a shell of his former self and he wanted to get over his grief over Adrian. So that's very important. That's number seven. That's number 17. 16. Oh wait, that was number 16, sorry. Number 15, Men in Black 3. I'll be honest, I said the Men in Black was my favorite trilogies of all time, and it's true, but it's mostly on the back of Men in Black 1 and 3. Number 2, not so much. I remember that Johnny Knoxville disappeared like near the end before the last arc of the movie. And yeah, and Lara Flynn Ball, while a good actress, did not feel capable of carrying the role of the main villain in the movie. Plus, it was like an hour and 20 minutes. It felt like a very rushed movie, very rushed sequel. But Men in Black 3 fixes all that. I mean, I love basically how they go back between the past of Kay, but also shows how Kay's character was a secret father figure that Jay never knew he had. And the heartbreaking story how he took care of Jay after Jay's father's death. That was very important. That was very good. And yeah, I really liked that movie. Number 14, Incredibles 2. It says something that is still my favorite Four movie is Incredibles from 2004. Yes, Fantastic Four first time was pretty good, and the Fantastic Four 2005 is still okay-ish. It's not bad, guys. It's okay. But it doesn't match and Incredibles, who came out a year earlier, which to me is a better Fantastic Four movie than anything Fantastic Four related. I mean, Mr. Fantastic is basically the Thing, Violet is basically Invisible Woman, Elastigirl, Mr. Incredible's wife is basically Mr. Fantastic, Jack is basically Human Torch, and you got Dash, who's basically the Flash. And it's a very good movie. The Syndrome's a great bad guy. He's my favorite, one of my top 50 movie bad guys. See that movie. It's very good. The second one, is that as good as the first one? No, but it's the same league as it. It doesn't embarrass itself. It's very fun. It's a great gags also in this case, especially Jack. Uh, yeah, it's something I would recommend that you see. So yeah. Now we have number 13, Zombieland 2 from 2019. Exactly 10 years after to the day that the first one was released. I really like that movie, and it shows like basically lots of things change from the first, second one. Basically, what it would change is basically in Zombieland with Jesse Eisenberg's Columbus and Woody Harrelson's Ta-Nehisi. It was very, very good. I thought it was hilarious. And I don't know her name, but the actress who was playing basically the blonde in that movie was hysterical, was my favorite part of the movie, as well as Rosario Dawson's mentioning that she wanted to get, if she ever basically found out who killed the cameo of the first one, this person would would get in trouble, would be in serious, serious trouble. That always made me laugh, and because the first one had the best cameo ever. So that's number 13, sorry. Number 12, Borat, subsequent movie. Usually Amazon Prime or Netflix Prime, Netflix standalone sequels are not that good. And yet that one was. That movie was very good. I mean, it was a very good movie. We saw what happened to Borat's wife and his assistant, his manager, and it centers on Borat and his daughter. And there's so many wrong moments that have become hilarious. And to me, the best joke isn't even in this movie, is the fact that whoever played Borat's wife, was Borat's daughter, sorry, was nominated in the Oscars for Best Supporting Actress. For a movie like this, that makes me laugh like crazy. Okay, so yeah, see Oscars, you can make good choice when you try. 11, Beverly Hills Cop 4, Axel F. There were so many signs about that movie that I thought would be an indicator of a bad sequel. First, it's a Netflix only movie. Second, it comes out 30 years after the last one, after Beverly Hills Cop 3, which was the weakest one of the bunch. And Eddie Murphy can make sometimes, hey, it can be good movies, but nowadays reputation, it's not that it's missed. Like it wasn't like in the early 2000s where just seeing his face on a poster means it's gonna be a miss. No. Now it's hit or miss. And this case was a hit. It worked. It was a pretty good sequel there. It's a very good sequel. I mean, Eddie Murphy didn't lose a beat. I love his character, still the same wise ass as he was before. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a very good, well, should be used to playing cops in the movie with him in Dark Knight Rises. Very good there. I still believe Judge Reinhold stole the movies for his small part because I really like the character of Billy. I loved him in the first, second, third one. Always like a childlike cop. So that's how I feel about this. Problem with this movie is just by looking at the opening credits, I could tell who's going to be the bad guy. That's the only thing I'd say bad about the movie. But let's move on to number 10. Bill and Ted 3, 2020. Bill and Ted 1, the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is very hilarious. And I thought for a time traveling movie, it's a time traveling movie that doesn't go too far, doesn't become convoluted. And in case by doing this, they don't contradict themselves when they go back in time. They don't hurt your head. It's like it makes sense. I mean, then you have Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which was not great, but their relationship with death and their 4 out of 7 with death always makes me laugh like crazy even to this day. And Bill and Ted 3 was an unassuming, but very good, especially knowing that Keanu Reeves, aka a national treasure, aka a Canadian role model, uh, played in that movie. I mean, he did Constantine. I think it could be Constantine 2, which I'm looking forward to. Uh, he was in John Wick 1, 2, 3 up to date before doing 4 in Ballerina. He did Captain Kaboom in Toy Story 4. He did Always Be My Maybe. He was very occupied, basically, and still came back and played Ted like he didn't skip a beat. I mean, of course, he has the same haircut, basically similar haircut as usual with longer hair, but I felt like this movie was like the characters did evolve, but they still remain their own dumbass selves. I like the movie. It's an hour 30 minutes. It does end up abruptly, but I felt like it was very good for what it's supposed to be. And it pays well homage to George Carlin, who played Rufus in the original. So very good movies. This one, number nine, Final Destination Bloodlines. This is a movie of this year. That's one of my favorite movie this year. There's another movie that came in 2025 that's on the list. I'll speak about it later. But Final Destination Bloodlines had no right being as good as it was. I think it's my favorite Final Destination movie beside the first one. I mean, usually in those kind of movies, you have beyond dumb and stupid people who deserve to be killed. In this movie, they're dumb, they're idiotic, but they have heart. There's not really a bad guy because it's targeting basically bloodline, so basically a bloodline of somebody, basically a family. No one was really dumb. So I felt like in this case, no one was, well, they were dumb, I mean, but no one was really bad in that family. Heck, they were showing more art and courage than many people in our movies. So I really liked that movie. The tales were creative, and it featured Tony Todd's last scene, R.I.P. So that was emotional. I know the directors just let him say what he wanted to say there. So basically, it felt like a goodbye, not just to in the movie of his character, but just a goodbye to us. And it was very emotional that scene. So I really like that Final Destination Bloodlines. I cannot recommend it enough. 8. Puss in Boots 2 from 2022. It had another movie that had no business being as good as it is, yet it was. The last great Shrek movie beforehand was Shrek 2 from 2004. Shrek the Third sucked, and Shrek Forever After from 2010 was okay. Puss in Boots was a bit better, was good, but it wasn't great. Puss in Boots 2 came out like 11 years later, and look at this. It's to me just as good as Shrek 2. It's about Puss in Boots' refusal to acknowledge that Father Time is undefeated, that basically time is catching up to all of us. He wants to still remain basically as adventurous as he was without moving on, without going to some other factors, other chapter of his life. So, and he loses 8 of his 9 lives, and because of this, he feels mentally frail. And instead of acting like super young, he tries to hide himself, basically as a cane, because he wants to avoid the wolf who represents death. But this is a movie talk about evolution. People cannot just stay the same person mentally that they were 10 years ago. Everybody's everybody now is supposed to be different mentally and emotionally than they were 10 years ago. If not, there's a huge problem. This is a movie talk about evolution and that people need to progress to grow, and not just physically, just mentally you need to grow. So, and to find ways to create something to that gives you purpose, and not try to cling on the past. That's also a metaphor. This movie is about not clinging on the past. Embrace the present and build your future. So that's very important. Number seven, Bad Boys 3 or Bad Boys for Life. I always felt like Bad Boys 4 should have been for life. Bad Boys 3, it's like it also had suspect elements, suspicious element that makes you think maybe when you go see it, it's not gonna be as good because it was released in January of 2020 and not in the summer 2020. But now, little did I know that the movie was gonna be that good. I mean, Martin Lawrence with his best performance for a long time, and Will Smith's best performance in a while too. I mean, talk about basically Puss in Boots. Basically, you have to grow. In this case, Martin Lawrence's character was ready and willing to call it a career in police, basically in terms of police work. But Marcus, played by, uh, sorry, it's not Marcus, sorry, Mike Lowry, played by Will Smith, is not ready and willing to do this. He wants to continue doing this. He wants to stave off the aging process, will continue doing what he does indefinitely. That's why the police commissioner said, "What are you doing? What the hell are you doing?" Basically, because he's not wanting to move on to another stage of his life. He wants everything to stay the same, and this is why Martin Lawrence's character found out that Will Smith's character is using basically beard dye because Will Smith's character is too vain to accept that he's getting gray hair. I mean, we all getting gray hair. I do as well, like even on your beard. It's not always pleasant to know they have gray hair on your beard, but it is what it is. And yeah, I really like this because again, metaphor about aging doesn't mean that you have to completely change what you are, but it's like accepting this other phase in your life that some things that were important for you 10 years ago might not be as much today. That there's some things you have to let go of. It could have worked as also a trilogy ender, as a series ender, Bad Boys 3, but there's been Bad Boys 4, which very good, not as good, but still in the same category. Whoever's directing Bad Boys 3 and 4, I hope they're directing Bad Boys 5 and get a raise because it's excellent. It's like it redeemed it from Bad Boys 2, which I felt was bloated Michael Bay bullshit. So yeah, that would be this. I mean, Michael Bay, it's like, okay, I didn't mind the first half of Bad Boys 2, but became so violent near the end, it's like wondering what the hell's happening. So, I mean, people dying because they stepped on mine and explode explicitly in that movie might belong in a movie like Deadpool or an horror movie. It doesn't belong in Bad Boys. So yeah, it became kind of unpleasant. But that's Bad Boys 2. And I'll just talk about Bad Boys 3. Number 6, Beetlejuice. Yes, there's a lot of different plot lines in this movie, plot holes as well. So did the first one as this. It's an hour 30 minutes. Michael Keaton always rocks as Beetlejuice, and like the first one, he's in there like the equivalent of 16 minutes. I don't know how much, but give or take around 16 minutes. He's not that much long. Not there. He's basically a supporting character. There's a movie title with him. That's okay. That's fine. Winona Ryder, I felt like her character was more like Joyce from Stranger Things than Lydia. But at the same time, when she had to be Lydia, it didn't work. And at the same time, I'm thinking the person became a mother. She evolved. She grew up. She evolved. She can't always be the indifferent gothic teenager she used to be. There's things that change in her lives. So Delia, played by Catherine O'Hara, always a great scene stealer, always makes me laugh. What else? Jenna Ortega plays, well, she plays, in this case, Astrid, like she would play Wednesday, or she played the sister in Scream. That's fine. I could tell that basically Justin Theroux was such a creep, was basically an homage to Otto. So yeah. Monica Bellucci played Dolores, and I love her introduction. I would have liked to see a bit more of this, but Yeah, for a movie that's an hour and 40 minutes, I wouldn't be surprised at like 10 minutes that were cut. That's a movie that I would have loved to see 10 more minutes. Willem Dafoe's character was funny, but no, we didn't. We could have taken out the Willem Dafoe's character, and the story would have stayed the same. And Bob, what can I say about Bob apart from every time you see him, he's ugly yet adorable, you know? And what is it with Tim Burton making Bob characters teens show stealers? He did it in Batman in '89 with Bob. Bob was a Tim Burton creation for the Batman movie. And every time he's on screen, it's like, okay, he's near Joker, but it's like you pay attention to Bob. He's interesting. He never says a word or barely says a word in the movie. And yet I remember the action figures of Bob were sold out, were selling out. And now there's Bob and Beetlejuice interacting with Michael Keaton, which is funny because Michael Keaton in Batman '89 was playing Batman and Bob was one of his enemies. So it's kind of funny. But he knows how to make Bob characters a thing, I guess. So I really like, in this case, Beetlejuice. Is that as good as the first one? No, but it's on the same league. So that's all I'll say. Number four, Ghostbusters Afterlife. I love Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's my second favorite Ghostbusters. Be one, three, two, four. I mean, and not just the legacy in title, legacy in franchise, legacy also the fact that director of the first two were Ivan Reitman. Director of the last of Ghostbusters Afterlife was Jason Reitman, his son. So not just in the movie, it follows basically follows a descendants. It's in real life also the director of the first two had a son who directed the next one, which is touching because you could see respected the original, the OG characters, but wanted to add his own characters as well. He treated the OGs with respect. That's a great key for any legacy sequel or project. Treat the originals with respect. You can have your own story. Definitely, you cannot rely always on the same old characters that might have been 30, 40 years older and the same story as if it was. You can't. Because it becomes then it's too much stuck in your own nostalgia. You can add new characters, but you cannot basically demean your old characters to basically to establish new ones. Hear that? Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? You cannot do that. I mean, plus Disney's against having Harrison Ford having a good ending. It's against having a character of Harrison Ford having a good ending, I meant. But in this case, Ghostbusters Afterlife, I felt like it relied on this, yeah, that it's its own world, but it's centered around the granddaughter of Egon Spangler, played by the late great Errol Remis in the first one and two Ghostbusters, and Ghostbusters the video game. And it kind of gives an end to this character, but at least I felt like it was a dignified end to Egon Spangler. And at the end, to me, well, yes, spoiler, the Ghostbusters appear at the end, the original ones. And I felt that was a great usage of them. You didn't have to have 70 minutes dedicated to them, but 5 to 10 minutes, that's cool. Because you established they're still in this world they had their own interests. And I felt like it added also prestige to Winston. Uh, Ray stayed the same kind of obtuse person. Peter still is the smart ass. So it's like it didn't disrespect the original, didn't transform them. They evolved, they changed maybe priorities, but they still remain the same. Frozen Empire was good, but I didn't think it was as good as this one. Paul Rudd's always a great person and a great actor. Mackenzie Grace, who plays Egon's granddaughter, was awesome. And her type of humor always had me laughing in this movie. So, yeah, that's for number four. So, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Actually, that's number four. Number five is Scream 5. Sorry, I forgot to mention Scream 5. Scream 5, in this case, I don't consider Scream 4 because Scream 4 is not that good. It's the second least favorite of the Scream movies for me after Scream 3. But Scream 5, very, very good. I cared about all the characters in this case. Like I cared about, yeah, the two daughters, Melissa Barrera, and her sister played by Jenna Ortega. Again, new characters, but He has the OGs as in Dewey, as in Sidney Prescott, as Gail Weathers, and I thought it was very well done. So I the only there's one Legacy character gets killed and I felt bad about this. But at the same time, it's like, but I feel like an hypocrite if I were to bash it for that was, whereas I would say that I would basically complain about Jurassic World to not kill enough people. Well, so I'll give it this, but it's like it kind of hurts. So yeah, that's number five. Now let's stop basically counting backwards. Let's stop making mistakes about counting, and let's go number three. Number three, it's a tie, and one of them is not really a movie, but it's a series, but it needs to be considered as OG'd. Cobra Kai and Naked Gun 4. Why I put Cobra Kai that high? Have you seen the series? It's like follows Karate Kid 1, 2, 3, and takes Johnny Lawrence and completely redeems him. Let's be honest. There was always like the fact of maybe Daniel and Johnny were the main character, and I say both of them are the main character, but kind of Johnny kind of edges out a little bit of Daniel LaRusso. Why? Because Johnny had to get his redemption. Daniel already had a stable life. He already had a stable wife. He already had a great job, kids. Everything was stable. Sure, off screen he lost Mr. Miyagi, but I felt like he still has his stuff together. Johnny, on the end, he starts the show. He's unhappy with his job. He's barely holding on to his job. He's in a crummy apartment. He's estranged from his kid. All in all, through the series, basically revenge himself as a sensei for Cobra Kai. And I like that basically this show respected not just Daniel LaRusso, it respected Johnny, his past, and respected also Cobra Kai. It basically said that Cobra Kai his mantra isn't the problem. Cobra Kai basically it's how people interpreted this and went overboard that was a problem. That's addressed in the final scene of the series. It's not basically no mercy. The problem was what strike first, strike hard. It's not basically necessarily physically doing it. Strike first is basically take an initiative. Not really in fight. Basically, just take an initiative. Like basically, if you want to write a book, write a book. Or find out what you need to do to write a book. Strike hard, it means give it everything you got. And no mercy simply meant that don't let everybody step all over you. But again, Johnny basically redeemed this Cobra Kai. And even at the end, I mean, knowing that Daniel LaRusso trusted John Lee Lawrence and enough to know that his version of Cobra Kai, he trusted it. So he had trust in Johnny's Cobra Kai, which has said something. They started as basically enemies, rivals, and ended as best friends. With difference in opinions, but still. I love that. But I also love that Johnny, while becoming a bit more advanced and evolving this, still has the 80s and 90s in him. If you know what I mean, if you watch the show, you know. And I like that because there's part of the 80s and 90s that we shouldn't forget. There's other things we need to evolve, but there's things like, hey, it's a heritage that we shouldn't forget either. And just say that. And Johnny basically technological capacities always make me laugh in this show. So yeah, Naked Gun 4, another sequel that I didn't expect to like as much. Went to see it last week. I laughed at plenty. I didn't expect to laugh as much. And I'm not gonna say it's as good as Naked One for the first one. The first one is still the best. Second one was second best. So if it was tying, maybe with the third one. But boy, does it manage to do this. And what I like about the movie is it doesn't try to have Liam Neeson portray or do an imitation of Leslie Nielsen. Leslie Nielsen based his performance on his previous dramatic work. Liam Neeson portrayed Frank Drebin Jr. based on his previous acting chops or acting roles like Taken. He pretty much played it as if Brian Mills from Taken was a parody character. And that works. Is every joke in the movie making me laugh like crazy? No, some joke we're like, okay. But at the same time, what are we asking in that case? Like every movie, every line should make you laugh out loud. It's like you You're not gonna be able to breathe at this point. You're supposed to have some repeats, basically a bit of a break between those jokes. The jokes that really worked. And I don't know if they're gonna do a second one, but I hope it's a success because if it's not this, I would have love to see us shut. Well, there's gonna be a shut part three. There was an airplane tree. There was this, some parody movie, like a no scary movie six with the Marlon and Sean Williams come back, and I hope they're gonna be characters in the movie. I hope Regina Hall and Anna Faris will be in that movie. We need more comedies. That should be the lesson of this. We need more comedies. I want this. I want American Pie 5. Because I think the reason people talk about superhero fatigue is just a symptom. It's, I think it's a fatigue of it's the same style over and over again. Like going to a buffet and saying, hey, we have plenty of different food. Here's pizza and linguine and pizza and pizza and pizza. Pizza is a great thing. But if it's only pizza, it's not a buffet, it's a pizza place. We need something else. The same. I want more comedies. This movie theater, and I bet you if there's more comedies and less superhero movies, people will go more to superhero movies like this. Less is more, like the great Jake Roberts said. Like the great Jake, the great Jake the Snake Roberts said, less is more. Less superhero movie will be more business, more money for superhero movies. Just like number two, because I want to stop my rambling. I go to number two, Toy Story 3. 2010. Yes, Toy Story 2 was in 1999, and 11 years later, got Toy Story 3. It is, I do remember it was one of my favorite movies of 2010 with The Social Network and Inception. And I thought was maybe my favorite animated movie ever. Toy Story 3. It caps off this whole trilogy, and you felt very, very close to character. And if it ended there, I would have said perfect. I'm not going to disagree and say I disliked Toy Story 4. No, I liked it. But I felt it was the least useful of those movies. It didn't need to exist. It could have just ended there. So yeah. So that would be for Toy Story 3 will be number two. And number one from 2022, Top Gun 2. I was trying to think if it was going to be a joke one that could basically fake you out, guys, with this. No, it's Top Gun 2, it's Top Gun Maverick. When I talk about movies that no reason being that good, no reason, no business, sorry, being that good, that's one of those. I expected this to be a cash grab. It came out in May, and I wasn't sure I was going to like it. Everybody says, oh, good reviews, or Rotten Tomatoes says this. Well, Rotten Tomatoes is not always reliable. Sometimes Rotten Tomatoes say a movie's great, and you go there, it's like, it's all right. I like Dune, for example. Yeah, you're probably going to hate me for that. I like Dune. I think it's pretty good, but I would not say it's a masterpiece. I'd say it looks great, great soundtrack, but Hans Zimmer always gives you a great soundtrack. Could have a crap movie, Hans Zimmer does a soundtrack, it's a great soundtrack. But the movie is about, it's not just about being a pilot, it's about your place in the world. It's about if you age out doesn't mean that you're purposeless. It doesn't mean that your original purpose is gone. It doesn't mean that you're obsolete. You still matter. You still have things to teach. You still can still be revered, and you still can have the same utility. Age is but a number. It's just with age, you still have to evolve. You cannot just do exactly everything you could do, but you can do it just smarter. You know the catchphrase of working hard or working smart. Sometimes it's working smart. In that case, that's what he means. Work smarter. In this case, basically, I like how it's about also redemption. That movie. Pete Mitchell, Maverick, is feeling guilty because Rooster, the son of Goose, his former teammate that died in the first one, he feels guilty. He basically does everything in his power to make sure he doesn't become an aviator because he doesn't want the possible death of Rooster in his hands. And the sacrifice he's making, he knows that Rooster's going to hate him But what he doesn't tell Rooster is his mom agrees with Maverick because Maverick doesn't want his mom to be blamed. He's just gonna take this. But how much guilt can you take from somebody, knowing it's not the entire truth, knowing somebody hates you for it, and you're ready to take the blame for it because you think it's better for everybody else. But at the same time, that guilt is gnawing away at you. It's gnawing away at you and taking away your quality of life. You're not being you. So eventually, Rooster has to be part to be an aviator. And at one point, Mitchell sacrifices his ship for Rooster, and Rooster later on saves Tom Cruise's life. Well, he saved Pete Mitchell's life. I find funny that the first thing Tom Cruise's character is after a while, it's kind of like shoving him, like, "What are you doing here? Why are you doing this?" And Miles Teller's character with Rooster is telling him, "I'm just saving your life." And I like the fact that basically talk about aging there. What saves them was the only route for escape. It's not a recent jet, it's a 1980s jet. And sure, basically this, they were at the end, they were saved by somebody else who's a great burgeoning star right now, and I really like this guy. But I like the last dialogue of the movie was Pete Mitchell saying to Rooster, "Thank you for saving my life," and Rooster saying, "That's what my dad would have done." It's a movie that's so emotional. Yeah, there's goofy stuff in this, but I mean, the volleyball scene, or I remember Pitch Me making a joke that technically it's like the base and a bit of Star Wars, like throwing the missile into carefully a carefully noted spot on the ground. It's like, okay, yeah, but it's still a great movie. So I'm kind of worried there's going to be a Top Gun 3 because this one is standalone. You don't need another one. It's a beautiful movie. I'm not going to say often beautiful movie. This one is. I think it's the best aviation movie ever. Just like F1 to me is the best Formula One driving movie ever. You know what? That director should always make movies about vehicles and redemption because that's what it is. Like Top Gun 2, again, had no business being that good, but to me, it becomes the top legacy sequel movie there is. Why? Because as mentioned before, it introduced new character, it integrates the OG character as an important character of the sequel, and disrespect neither. It doesn't disrespect the original character and bring him down to increase the level of importance of the new characters like Dial of Destiny does, and doesn't diminish the new characters to bring up the main characters of the originals. Like I know what you did last summer, 2025. Boy, that movie was ass. No, it doesn't. It established both characters as being very important, both of them, for different reasons. It treated them with respect. It created a great story that respected them, made sense with their ambitions, their drive, and come up with satisfying conclusions. How about that? And guess what? Look at the box office. Maybe that's what you need to do, Hollywood. Nobody's against new characters, but they want the originals to be respected, and they want the new ones to be respected as well, with a story that befits them. Anyway, I'm going to stop now because I'm going to ramble on for 30 minutes for no reason. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Later, guys.